Going round, and we are live. Hello everybody, we thought we'd go live a minute or two early just so you all get notified that we are here. Most of you know me, I'm Sally Rice, I'm the founder of Heartspace Development, and today I am talking with Sally Brady, the business planning specialist, and it's very nice to speak to another Sally because we've commented before, neither of us know that many other Sallys, so welcome Sally, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We were speaking before about how we've both got our fans going on, so hopefully everybody can hear us okay. I think it's coming through fine. So Sally, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background, your career journey, and how you find yourself doing what you're doing right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I worked in the corporate sector for about 30 years as an accountant. My last role was with Bell, the cheese company, that laid down my baby bell, that sort of thing. And I had quite a tough journey with them around squeezing profit margins, that sort of thing. And it highlighted to me that I was coming to the end of my corporate journey. I'd been working with some big companies for years, but as things got tighter and more difficult, I realised myself it's not where I wanted to be with my career, that I would actually like to step away and do what I do myself. And one of the things that came to light with me was the fact that I was working with some really good leaders, some great people, but they didn't have the knowledge of financials, but they did have massive teams around them. So they would have a team of maybe 10 accountants, a couple of us really senior, but then we had teams around us too. So there was a massive support function there. But small businesses don't have that, and entrepreneurs in particular don't have that. And that was one of my drivers, was that everybody should know about the financials, but how do you know about it if you don't have the support? So when I sort of started my journey, I started by doing my coaching qualification. I did a little bit of personal coaching. I still do some exec coaching, but very little now, because I tend to focus on small businesses and helping them with business planning, education around numbers, and then general support. And I thoroughly enjoy it. It's been a huge transition, and I wouldn't say it's an easy journey when you start, but now I look back and 2 years down the line, there's no way I'd go back to my corporate world. It's been an education, but I thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the same page with that one. I'm a little bit behind you in terms of time, but yeah, I can't see myself going back to the corporate world. But it was really interesting what you said there about, you know, small business owners not having the same level of support. I mean, I know when I was in the corporate world, you know, I was sitting on the board. We had, you know, the group director, you know, finance person there to explain things to us. So yeah, I didn't necessarily need to know all the ins and outs. But, you know, as I posted about the other day, as small business owners, we wear all the hats. And we were just talking about that before we went live. You know, we are the salesperson, we are the social media, we are the accountant, we are everything. And actually, you know, there's no reason why we'd necessarily know all the ins and outs of those things. It's a learning curve, isn't it? It's a journey, and getting the right support with those kind of things, like especially numbers, which I know a lot of people, and you probably find this all the time, a lot of people kind of shy away from or stick their head in the sand.
Yeah, I always say people have a fear of numbers, and it's something that I do talk about a lot in my content, in my posts on LinkedIn and Facebook, etc. And that, you know, it is a fear that as business owners that we do need to face, because we need to have that visibility within our business, because otherwise we'll either stagnate or fail. Because, as you know, I think it's something like 95% of small businesses fail in the first year, and quite often, more often than not, it's around not knowing numbers, about not knowing cash flow, not knowing how to manage cash flow. So whilst they are things that you think, oh, I've got an accountant can do it. Having a once-a-year accountant doesn't work. I mean, again, it's something I harp on about on LinkedIn, but it's true. You need, as a business owner, take ownership of your business and ownership of your numbers, and get past that fear, because it's key to growing your business and key to the strategy around your business as well.
Yeah, 100%. And going back a little bit to what you were saying, Sally, about you know, that we're both very pleased, obviously, that we now work for ourselves, but, you know, going through that transition, working for a big corporate as you were, to setting up on your own, obviously, you know, a new business, a small business, you know, much smaller team, obviously. And you said, you know, it wasn't always easy at times. What challenges did you come up against, and how did you get over those?
I think for me, being an accountant is great. Everybody says, you're an accountant, you'll be fine in business, but you're very blinkered. So for me, it was wearing that sales and marketing hat and also setting my budget for that. I had absolutely zero idea about sales and marketing. It's something I'd never touched on. So it's okay me knowing my numbers, but the other side of it was I needed to know what I could spend on marketing, what was feasible, how it was going to work for me, and what the return on that investment was. So I had to really do my research around that. And I think we were talking earlier, I've made a couple of faux pas with a couple of people I've worked with, not understanding what I was buying into, and vice versa. So it's that transition for me was difficult. And I do practice what I preach. I always look at my numbers. I have a cash flow. I have a forecast in place. I have my annual and 5-year goals, and I very much focus on those. But I say it was not having all the knowledge, and at first being a little bit afraid to ask. And again, we talked about that, and it's I think sometimes more as a woman. I mean, I don't want to diss any men, but as a woman, sometimes you're a little bit more afraid to sort of put your foot out there and say, actually, I don't really know what I'm doing.
Oh, definitely. And I think I think maybe there's this misconception that when you go into your own business that you're somehow an expert in what you're doing. You probably are in terms of like what your niche is, but certainly all the other surrounding things around business, like we said, like numbers, for example, it's okay to say, oh, I don't know what to do now. I need to ask someone. I need to get support. And obviously that's, what we both offer in our very different fields, yourself obviously with the financials and myself with kind of helping really early on female entrepreneurs. But I think, and then that's why I think, being really honest and having conversations like this to say, actually, it's okay. It's okay not to know. It's okay to support, especially women that have gone from the corporate world where you have managers, you have teams, you have colleagues to support you, to bounce ideas off, to being, in a small business where in the beginning for most people it's just them. And that can be, that's quite a change as well.
One of the things I started to do over the last year was actually do webinars around my speciality, because sometimes they say when we first start out we don't always have a massive budget to do things, but it's sort of learning on a smaller scale. So one of the big things for me was I had it, somebody said it today on one of my personal LinkedIn, that accountants often blind us with jargon. So things like that. I started to do things like that do a webinar around that jargon and try and explain it. I mean, it's quite difficult to put it in layman's terms sometimes, because an accountant, we do tend to go back into accountancy speak. But it's things like that so that people aren't so afraid to ask, that actually relating those things, in layman's terms, or keeping it simple, makes it so much easier, so that people aren't afraid to approach you and work with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Making it more accessible, because really, everything that we do, in a small business, you can learn. It's just taking those steps towards kind of understanding what you need to do. And do you want to tell us a little bit more about what you do now, Sally? You've already touched on it. But how do you work with people now? What do you do in your business?
I work with them in a variety of ways. One of the major things is that I work as a part-time finance director for some businesses, which are, quite high turnover. But I work in a very diverse range of businesses. So I've got everything from a beauty business to an engineering company. So doing different types of roles. But I work as a finance director. I also do business planning. So I can create business plans for some of my clients, and we'll do a 5-year business plan and then we'll implement it. Some people just want the business plan so they can take it away to the bank to borrow, etc., or for their own personal needs. I do also do a support function. So I do a monthly subscription that's low cost. I charge £30 a month, and it's more about accountability and about showing people about cash flow and what's important in the numbers. So my clients there drop their P&L and balance sheet and cash flow into me, and I give them feedback and say, right, okay, this is where you need to focus. And then the other thing I'm doing in September is a face-to-face workshop to help. I've only got 10 space. I think I've only got 6 left. To work face-to-face with me for a day, just to learn about cash flow, do some education around it. Because it's key, and it's so important for people to know the numbers.
Yeah, I know, 100%. And what do you find are the common things that people struggle with I imagine the same things come up all the time for you.
It is. It's. Do you know what? It's this whole thing that I've got an accountant, so I'm okay. So I don't. They'll deal with my numbers once a year, and I say no. You need to have monthly reports that you're reviewing. You need to constantly have a cash flow going, and you need to have some key performance indicators. You need to have, mainly they're your goals. It's. What do you have as a life P&L basically? When you started in business, what was your ultimate aim for that business? What did you want to get out of it? And by having that key information, that drives you towards that life P&L that that you've created.
For anyone watching, what's a P&L?
Sorry, profit and loss. There you go. Yeah, profit and loss.
I knew, but I thought, I bet there's some people who will watch this probably on catch up who think, what is a P&L?
Sorry, there you go, straight away. But I say it is about driving yourself to it. I think we forget when we start a business, we get really, really busy and we get scared around, what we're doing next and making sure that the business is running. We forget the goal that we put in place for ourselves. And for me, I see that a lot when people first come to me is, what was your ultimate aim for your business? What did you want to achieve out of it? I say I have my 5-year goals. I am very focused in that respect. I'm a big believer in the law of attraction. So I have my goals. I visualize them. And I think that's important because that is why we're in business. We're not in business just to pay tax or just to, perform a function every day. We've done it for a reason.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's really interesting, actually. You mentioned that the woo-woo around money. I've been doing quite a lot of reading recently about money mindset, and I put a post out about it the other day. And I'm reading Denise Duffield Thomas's book, which I'm sure you're aware of. How do you approach that side of things? I mean, you're a very, like me, you come from a numbers background. I'm from an operations background. For all intents and purposes, are very practical people. How did you go on that journey? Because I know I'm still learning on that journey around that kind of side of things. How did you find that, and what do you do now? If you're happy.
I'm very, very close-minded originally, and I was very much I was the typical accountant. You can put me in that grey suit and blinkers on. The way you make money is that you focus on this and this. But I think coming into my own business, I realised that actually to create what I wanted to do, I had to actually see it. It had to be tangible to me. And that's when I started to go on that journey. And it was my own business coach that got me into it. I work with Ash Lawrence. And he has that side of him too. He's an NLP practitioner. He's also, is a psychologist. And, it was him that sort of said to me, think outside of the practicalities sometimes. And actually, I've got something here. I can show you. It's a £10 note. And it says on it, thank you for all the money I've been given throughout my life. And that came from the book, The Magic, which I did and I'm currently doing again. And that, it wasn't so much the woo side. I think it was that connection with money that said, actually, as we're growing up, we're given a lot by our parents for nothing. And we don't realise the monetary value that they have given us. So recognising that, and when you apply that to yourself and your own business, you start to realise your self-worth. So you think, I have this fee. Yes, some people might say it's expensive, but I know I'm worth it. And it starts drawing that out of you so that actually you'd stop questioning what you're charging and why you're doing your business. And that was the connection for me. It was about, right, okay, I am worth this. And I think that's something else that, when I work with people, I say, don't be afraid to charge because you have a worth. Time is money. And that's how the woo side came in for me. It was more about that realization that actually my two worlds in that respect are connected, that, there's the self-worth and there's the business side of it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I was reading a post the other day about how, particularly with women entrepreneurs, imposter syndrome can pop up, as it does for us all at some point, in terms of like, who am I to do this? Who am I to charge that? And actually that can manifest itself in what we charge, how we set our prices and what we feel worthy in, exactly what you were saying, really, what we feel worthy in charging and what we don't. And quite often women entrepreneurs actually end up undercharging because they don't feel worth in what they do. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love that. I find that side of it increasingly interesting. And like I said, the kind of law of attraction and the idea that you can, have a much healthier mental relationship with money. You know, I'm sure a lot of people, you know, who watch this, you know, have been told at some point, oh, you're not very good with money, or who thought themselves, I'm not very good with money, or I'm not very good with numbers. You know, I'm sure that's classic. I'm sure you hear that literally all the time. Oh, I'm awful with numbers.
Yeah, every day I hear that. People the first thing they say when I have a meeting with them is, I'm not very good with numbers. And I think one of the things I think you probably noticed in my post, I always say, I am not here to judge, I'm here to support. And I think it's a probably belief, as you say, there's ingrained in us over the years. Oh, you need to know your numbers, but do you know them? And you sit back straight and go, oh my God, do I know them? You know, I'll look stupid here. But I always say there's no stupid questions. I know we said this before we came on live. And the other thing you'll see on my website is I always play as well, simplicity over complexity. Because I think too many times we overcomplicate things. And once you start making it simple, you realise that actually I'm very good with numbers.
Yeah,
and it's what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you know, be more comfortable being familiar with your own numbers, and like you said, kind of that constant tracking of numbers. It's really interesting, the two sides. It's really interesting to hear you talk about that, you know, being you know, a financial, you know, and the accountancy side, and talking about the kind of the manifesting. And it's I'd be really interested to hear what people think about that side of things. And so, being a practical person, as I am, I always like to encourage the guests that I speak to pass on some tips, really, some tangible action that people can do. It might be something really small and simple, but to kind of you know, help them on their kind of entrepreneurship journey. What would you say to those people, Sally?
I think, you know, one of the things, the key thing is, like I said earlier, don't be afraid of your numbers. You know, you're a business owner, you've gone into it, therefore, you know, there's nothing stupid around it if you have a fear, and I hate that word anyway. But, you know, build yourself a cash flow. If anything, do a cash flow. If there's one thing I would ask you to maintain every month, it would be a cash flow, so that you know exactly where you are in business, so you can see what's money's coming in, what's going out, and basically, you know, where you are at any one point in time. A profit and loss and balance sheet, great. If you can have those monthly, brilliant, and keep reviewing those monthly. But the one thing that I would maintain every week is a cash flow, because I say it will help you on that journey. You know, if you hit, like we have recently, a pandemic, you'll see ahead of time how you're going to manage your way through that.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be anything complicated, does it? It could just be a simple, you know, Excel spreadsheet to track, you know, cash flow.
If anybody wants to reach out to me, I have a simple template that I'm happy to send out to anybody, you know, use it and, you know, connect to me and ask. I really don't mind. It's, you know, it's the thing I'd like to see everybody do. So yeah, it's there if anybody wants it.
No, that would be amazing. And where is the best place to connect with you, Sally, if anyone watching you wants to follow up and you know, connect and learn more?
I am on LinkedIn quite a lot. Probably people do it more on LinkedIn, but obviously Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I also have a YouTube channel. So absolutely, anyway, if you just put in Sally Brady, I know that I do come up. I'm the person that Googles myself.
So. Brilliant. And just to finish off, you know, your journey into, you know, entrepreneurship, because I like to talk about every business owner as being an entrepreneur. You know, what have been your big numbers aside, you know, what have been your biggest lessons on your journey?
I think to recognise that you are a business owner, that, you know, it's not something you play at, it's not a hobby, that actually when you set up a business, you are a business owner, and therefore to get your systems and your processes in place and make sure that you act like a business owner every day, because the more you do that, your business will grow because you are focused on your business.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, especially for anyone, I guess, that starts a business that perhaps was a hobby. And I'm guessing you see some of those people, and I know I do, you know, you really enjoy something as a hobby, you turn it into a business, which is great, but obviously that's no longer your hobby. You know, and that can be quite a mindset shift, I think.
It is,
you know, into thinking, actually, no, like you said, I am a business owner now. I'm not just kind of, you know, treating this as something, you know, to do on the weekends.
And once you're in that mindset, it's amazing how things change for you. So get your systems and processes, get your financials done, and, you know, and get your head around the fact that you are a business owner and you're doing it for a reason.
Yeah. One other question actually that came up that someone asked me recently. Sorry, I haven't asked you this one in advance, but in terms of finding the right support, and we did touch on that earlier, in terms of like the importance of reaching out and getting support as new business owners, especially with the things that we perhaps don't know so much about. Obviously, one of the things is an accountant, you know, and whether that's a end of year accountant or, you know, someone like yourself who, you know, gives more ongoing support. How can people know, you know, how do people find a reputable person in that arena? Like, how would you advise people go about finding someone to help them?
Personally, I do some due diligence, so I will look them up on Companies House and just check that they exist, have they filed. For me, as obviously it's financial, so I look at, you know, have they filed recently, what their accounts tell me. A lot of people file micro accounts, there's not a lot you can tell, but you can see the physical presence there. And I also think actually it's about trust, because when you connect with somebody, you will know instantly if, you know, if there's the feeling there. I go a lot with gut feeling when I go to work with somebody, that the trust is there instantly. I'm at ease with them. I don't feel that I can't share, you know, that I know that I can tell there's a support there. And, you know, for me, that's been a huge thing. And I think that, I say, comes back to maybe to the woo side of it, but it's actually, you go with your gut. If you feel that somebody is right, you will know. If you have the slightest doubt in your mind, then there's something wrong. Yeah,
absolutely. I think having that rapport with the people that we work with. I mean, you know, if anybody saw my post the other day about having the ideal client, you know, our ideal client we should have rapport with, because if they were the ideal person for us, you know, to work with, then it should be a really good fit. So I think, I mean, we're all used to meeting someone that we go, oh yeah, I can feel that, you know, in a personal as well as business world. Oh, I can feel I've got that rapport with. And I think, if it's something as important as, you know, with your business and with your numbers, then I think that's really key. I think we've covered everything that I pre-asked you, but is there anything else you'd like to share with anyone watching around, you know, how to manage their numbers or anything like that?
Yeah, I didn't touch on it earlier, but one of the softwares I really like, and I should tap into them actually, is Xero, because a lot of people ask me what software should I use, and there's a lot out there. I'm a big fan of Xero because it's a business owner's tool. I know we've got QuickBooks and things. And I think it speaks to you as a business owner as opposed to an accountant. A lot of the other packages are bookkeeper packages, so you'll look at them and you'll go, no idea. Whereas I think Xero actually talks to the business owner. So one tip I would say, get your numbers on Xero, because it has some fantastic reports in there as well, and a brilliant dashboard. Yeah.
And yes, I use the dashboard almost daily with my Xero. I mean, just to give anyone out there a really brief overview of Xero, I mean, you can do your invoicing through it, obviously you pay expenses through it. Sally probably knows much more about what it can do than I do, but that's what I primarily use. I use it as a place for tracking my numbers and giving me that overview. You can obviously see what invoices you've got outstanding, what bills you've got outstanding, you know, where your money kind of sits. To be honest, I haven't looked at the reporting.
It's got an app called HubDoc, which you just literally push your supplier invoices or your receipts through, expense receipts through, and it links straight to Xero. And your bank feed is instant. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, no, actually, that's a really good point. Yeah, you can link it to your business bank account, or you can also link it if people do more kind of online sales. You can link it to PayPal Business and things like Stripe and things like that. So yeah, absolutely, that's something, you know, I'll probably be talking about more with my audience, because there are a few options out there. I know QuickBooks does a big push on TV and social media and things, but I agree with you personally. I feel we should be working for Xero. We should be getting paid for this.
I know. Did you get a kickback from that? I was like, no, because I'm not an accountancy practice, so they don't
No, that's a really good point though, and actually, I have been asked before. So thanks for bringing that up. It was lovely to talk to you today. We'll both be able to go and cool down now and put the big fans on, and I hope everyone that's watching is keeping cool and keeping hydrated. Thank you, Sally, for joining us. I know we're going to post a couple of links on this afterwards where you can connect with Sally, and she's got some resources that she can share. And just from my side, I put some things on my stories about my beta course that I've got open at the moment. One of the modules appropriately is about numbers. So if anyone's interested in joining that, we start in August. So get in touch if you're interested with that. But thank you, Sally, for joining us. Thank you, people, for watching either on replay or live. And yeah, have a great day. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Sally. Bye.